sit by my side, looking for a place to hide, where all the boys just laugh at me and break up in my company. Mama, mama, what can I say? Hi, my name is Bruce Jackson. I'm happy to spend some time with you today. I'd like to share my story with you. My story is that of a Quebec musician who has tried to absorb as much as he could from the communities around him and hopefully give back to those communities. My story is also everyone's story. We are all asked to make choices in life, to strike a balance between the various forces that pull us in different directions. As a musician, the choices I've had to make are to play alone versus playing with others, whether to invest in the English community or the French community, whether to play my own music or the music of others, and certainly the most compelling question, which is, do I make music a career or simply a hobby? In a nutshell, I grew up in Thetford Mines, a mining town between Sherbrooke and Quebec City. After that, I moved to Sherbrooke to do my schooling at Cégep and university. That was fitting that I live in Sherbrooke for a while because my parents met there and both came from farming communities in the area. After that, I lived and worked in Montreal. Like many Quebecers, I had my Montreal period. Now I live happily in a lakeside home in Saint Calixte, Quebec, which is in the Lanaudière region. Never live it down, never live, never live, never live it down, never live, never live it down. Most singer-songwriters are torn between the idea of playing alone or playing in a group. Most singer-songwriters start off in groups and then gravitate slowly towards becoming a solo artist. I did the opposite. I liked the challenge of being a solo artist, of being self-sufficient on stage, of producing a full sound with one guitar, much in the same way that Bruce Cockburn did. I remember once a gentleman coming up to me and saying, "Hey, you're good. You could play in a group." Yeah, certainly playing solo has its rewards. You learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot from others, of course, because their reaction and their assessment is directed solely at you. Yeah, you learn patience. You learn determination. When a club owner asks you to do 3 sets and the 3rd set ends in the wee hours of the morning, well, sometimes you have to dig deep to deliver the goods. Playing solo can be rewarding, but it can also be very frightening and intimidating. I remember a series of concerts where I was the opening act for the group Harmonium, because we had the same manager at the time. I was pretty much an unknown entity, whereas they were arguably the most popular group in Quebec at the time. At one of these shows at the Granada Theatre in Sherbrooke, the show couldn't start until the evening's movies had finished screening. So people were waiting outside in the cold for the doors to open, and finally the doors open, the lights go down, the show's on. Who walks out on stage? Bruce Jackson. I lasted 3 songs. But, to be fair, the crowd gave me enough encouragement and applause to get me home safely that night. Ultimately, every musician aspires to work with other musicians. From the get-go, I knew that I should try to connect with the English community and the French community. So, on the English side, I played with Lennox, Wavesong, Dave Lapp, Charlie Cover. On the French side, I played with Jim Corcoran, Mario Chénard, Bertrand Gosselin, and Éric Mailleux. The French artists, of course, had a wider audience in Quebec, naturally. Jim Corcoran and Mario Chénard both won Felix Awards, which is the Quebec equivalent of the Junos or the Grammys. Jim Corcoran and I recorded an album in the 80s called T'es-tu, which consisted solely of 2 acoustic guitars and Jim's voice. This was unusual for the time because most productions were quite lavish, and elaborate. Nevertheless, the album won the Felix Award for Folk Album of the Year, proving that the acoustic guitar can be a serious instrument. At the time, one thing working in our favor, I think, was the popularity of folk music in Quebec and across all North America, really. Every Quebec town, village, city had a coffee shop or a music club or a concert hall devoted to live music, often of the singer-songwriter variety. French audiences took well to English music. The English population were discovering emerging French artists. It was quite a nice spirit, I have to say. There was room for everybody, really. Of course, all of this means touring, and for me, traveling is a wonderful byproduct of the traveling musician. I went from knowing not much about Quebec to discovering the St. Lawrence Valley, Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Beauce Mountains, the hustle and bustle of Montreal, the old Quebec, and what have you. My buddies and I even had this little quiz going where we tried to name the main streets of Quebec towns. Like, what's the main street of Chicoutimi? What's the main street of Rimouski? I like Quebec geography, so I didn't do too badly in these quizzes. But really, I think the most precious result of all this, or byproduct, is meeting people, of course. And for an English Quebecer to be able to really see firsthand the social mores of the French population was wonderful, really. You learn how to fit in. You broaden your horizons, as the cliché goes. Or as they say so wonderfully in French, les voyages forment la jeunesse.
No, you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. No, you can't take it with you. No, you can't take it with you.
I spoke with Jim Corcoran recently, and he told me he still enjoys playing music, but would rather not tour. I still like to travel, but I too keep my musical activities local. This works out fine for me because the Lanaudière region is a hotbed of traditional and folk music. The Acadian influx in the 18th century brought with it a very vibrant, energetic music that is Acadian music, and that was intermingled with the Québécois and Irish music, producing a tradition that's still around today, like in the Acadian Festival of Saint-Jacques. The Joliette Cégep is the only cégep to offer a traditional music program. And Joliette hosts one of the few true blue folk festivals in Quebec called Mémoire et Racines. Being half Irish myself, living in Lanaudière connects me with my musical heritage, and I learn how to play Celtic music. Now, one of the performances of Celtic music that's worth mentioning is when I grab a banjo and play jigs and reels on the ECOL float at the St. Patrick's Day parade in Rawdon. ECOL, by the way, is the English Community Organization of Lanaudière. This gets people, tapping their feet and doing little jigs themselves. The only challenge is playing in the cold, where you have to wear these little mittens with holes at the ends of them. Living in Lanaudière is also synonymous for me with ECOL, the English Community Organization of Lanaudière. They offer a vast array of activities and services for the English population, and I've noticed the French population getting involved too with pleasure. Many of those activities involve music. The ECOL representative in Mascouche, Conrad Popko, who's a fine musician in himself, founded a rock band under the auspices of ECOL, and I gladly joined. ECOL representatives in Rawdon, also fine musicians like Carole Gravel, Mary Jo Rosenquist, and Father Rodney Clark from the Christ Church, organize a whole series of musical events that serve the community and bring a smile to people's faces. I'm going down to Sugarwick and going to the fair. Music's playing and my friends are there. Friends are going to the Sugarwick Fair. Hey, my friends are going to the Sugarwick. I was looking for a way to, in some way, contribute to ECOL, to thank them in a way for everything they do. I came up with the idea of a Gordon Lightfoot tribute show. Gordon Lightfoot had just passed away, and Gordon Lightfoot for me was my major influence in learning how to play guitar. So I recruited musicians from the ECOL membership. ECOL provided the advertising, the venues, the funding. The show took about 6 months to put together, and unfortunately some of the original members had to leave the project before it was actually presented. But it was presented, and it was a resounding success. And it stands out to me as one of the most memorable musical moments of the past few years.
Anchor me every time I go drifting out to sea, yeah. Anchor me to the bottom, anchor me every time I go drifting out to sea.
I've worked on 8 albums in my career, 2 of my own material. On every single one of those albums I've worked on, they featured original compositions. That pretty much settles the question in my mind as to whether you should do your own music or the music of others. The digital age is wonderful in a way, because now with relatively inexpensive equipment, like a good mic, an audio interface, a decent laptop, you're in business. This has spawned a whole new community of musicians called bedroom producers. I like to tell my friends that in the bedroom, I really produce. In the 80s, I made my first stab at having a home studio. The tape recorder, which was only 8 tracks, cost me $5,000 used. 8 tracks doesn't sound like much, but in those days, that was decent for a home studio. The reels of tape for this tape recorder cost $150 and gave you only 30 minutes of recording time. Today, recording time is pretty much unlimited for free, and the tracks are pretty much unlimited too. I've recorded music for film and video, which is a whole new approach to composition. I've worked for a Quebec filmmaker called Bob McKenna, who produces both documentaries and avant-garde abstract videos. In the documentaries, which often are on the visual arts scene in Montreal and get shown in places like the Festival du Film sur l'Art, my job there is to provide background music, which often consists just of snippets of 2 seconds, 3 seconds, 5 seconds, maybe up to a minute and a half sometimes. Bob also produces these abstract videos, as I mentioned, where in that case, I provide music for the entirety of the video that really should mirror or support the image. If the image gets quite, elaborate and excited and animated, so does the music. Our latest production, called Porto, won the Best Short Film Award at the Portuguese Short Film Festival. In this video, Bob photographed the ceramic tiles that are prevalent in Portugal, dumped them into his computer and had them move around in these very interesting geometrical patterns. If you'd like to check out Bob McKenna's stuff and my music, you can always go to his YouTube channel. Just make sure that you type a space between the MC, the muck, and the Kenna in McKenna. And enjoy. Well, in the near future, my upcoming projects would be to finish a solo album this coming year, to continue playing with my musical friends here and there. I've taken an interest in solo concerts too, maybe reverting back to childhood. But ultimately, as a musician, I'm grateful to have been exposed to many communities in my life, and hopefully I'll be able to continue giving back to those communities. I truly believe that artists should make sure that their art moves forward and outward, embracing the events and the people around them. It's been nice to meet you. From the old world to the new world, cross the ocean between. From the old girl to the new girl, crossing